I'm Grimith, and I've been getting on with it for a decade now. This is a feature-length monologue. This is also the end of an era. How the hell did we get here? And what the fuck happens next? I'm going to retell the history of Let's Get On With It. I'm going to dig deep into my guts, and I'm going to share why I planned on unplugging my computer after this month and moving on with my life. If that interests you, come along. If not, I get it. Hell, I'm surprised you made it this far. Look at how long this is. Fuck, man, go. Be free. You're excused. Still here? Alright, let's do this. I've been a gamer my entire life. My mom enjoyed games, my brother enjoyed games. We had the consoles, the rental stores, the arcades, the friends with their own consoles and own games. I enjoyed video games. I learned to enjoy watching other people play games when it wasn't my turn. I delighted in trading gaming experiences with others. There's a connection there, you know? You and I did the same thing, had the same moment. We could share our perspectives with each other, like Lavos, Kafka, Hoy, Quarlo. That cheating old bastard, he brings his walking stick to the boxing ring. God, I hated him. And it felt so damn good when I kicked his ass. And then had to keep kicking his ass because of the Bruiser Brothers. You see, there's a story there. And other people have their own versions of that story. When you bring those together, you build a connection. Now, that doesn't just happen with video games. You could have that with a sports moment, or a bit of world scenery, like a monument, or natural wonder, or a movie, or a restaurant. Video games just filled that role for me, a lot. They didn't just educate, entertain, and inspire, they helped create moments, good and bad, that I could share with others. Let's Get On With It is an extension of all that, because I never stopped being a gamer, or sharing experiences and ideas with others. I kept into that in my teenage years and through college. And I found people, communities, who enjoyed the same things. Like Syrian. I really enjoyed his Galactic Civilizations and Diablo 2 stories. Through him, I found Sula. Unlike Syrian, Sula still writes up after action reports. He's also a live broadcaster and archives most everything on his YouTube channel. Then there's Alfred Packer's Adventures of the Crovan Clan. Crusader Kings was the only Paradox game I enjoyed until they made the Clausewitz engine, and even then, I found it a hassle to play. It's a good thing there's folks on the internet playing games so I don't have to. Those folks, not you, air conditioner. You don't get to be a part of the decade update. You can't be derailing my thoughts like that. This is important. If the train shows up too... Fuck! It's 3:40 in the morning. Don't show up, train. Yeah. So, those folks from the Something Awful forums pursued the idea of playing games so you don't have to. There's a delightful archive, still maintained by Baldirk, full of many series I enjoyed. Guava Moment's XCOM series, or wonderful after-action reports told with that Let's Play branding. They were collaborative stories with forum participants, engaging and entertaining and inspiring folks. But the single most influential series for Let's Get On With It was absolute trash. Daikatana, done by Proteus and Suspicious. 20% Proteus, 80% Suspicious. The videos are still preserved through the Internet Archive. I watched them again last Christmas, and I enjoyed them, or, well, as much as anyone can enjoy seeing people play Daikatana. Boy, I've got my own history of that garbage. I was with my friend when he got Daikatana on his birthday. I was with my friend when he set the CD on fire. Fuck that game. Anyway, all that ancient history brings us to March 5th, 2010. I wanted to share gameplay of Liberal Crime Squad. You've probably heard of LCS if you're listening to this. Open source RPG created by Tarn Adams of Bay 12 Games, the same Bay 12 responsible for Dwarf Fortress. LCS draws inspiration from the 1983 version of Oubliette, which was a single-player dungeon crawler converted from the 1977 Oubliette MUD run off a Play-Doh mainframe. Oubliette was a dungeon crawler with a mean traveler RPG-like character creation system. I digress. Liberal Crime Squad was my first Let's Go with adventure. I told a story on the forum while playing the game in videos I uploaded to Dailymotion. This is my first time looking at Dailymotion's interface in years. Looks like my bio got cut off there at the top. I liked the longer video length Dailymotion provided, but viewer feedback prompted me to try a different service, YouTube. I created that account on March 18, started off with some Starzu videos, and then transferred my YouTube stuff over. It was definitely the right choice for the series, but I could not have predicted how else it would impact. Let's get on with it. See, there's no telling of my history without touching on the people I met along the way. From Z-Sword, the first person to ever join me on co-commentary, to Advanced Ben 2nd Edition, who long ago slotted all his videos to private. I think back on our time together fondly. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one particular individual. A couple of viewers had told me about someone else playing Liberal Crime Squad on YouTube. I shot him a YouTube PM back when those were still a thing. He told me about this thing he was doing. He had a real-life friend hosting a forum, a community he was looking to bring together. That community was called the Voltron Army. And the guy I shot the PM? 1F Jeff. I got mixed feelings looking at this, and not just because of that adorable YouTube interface I miss. I used to watch content through the channel playlist. It was cozy in the way web pages could be before they adopted a uniformity for mobile devices. Jeff wanted this as his career. Make gaming content and get paid for it. It was one of our many differences. He eventually lost interest in the whole Voltron Army community concept, though his friend Hexcrack continued to web host the forum, and I acted as its sole admin for years after. The site got riddled with viruses and bots, and at some point in all the restarts, there wasn't enough activity, reasonably so, to warrant continued effort. For that, there were connections. There was a TeamSpeak server, which has a spiritual successor now in a Discord server. There was Minecraft. Originally that was the Basherverse, back before Jeff and Basher had their thing. Yeah, so Minecraft. And there were Succession LPs, and there were a few competitions. I hosted one. I wanted birthday presents in the form of videos. I offered presents in exchange. The Catfish won, and it was an upset victory over Hair Sunk. Again, I digress. I met plenty of content creators I liked during this time and through this community. Jerifor, Halcyon, Kelderon, Hair Sunk, Tomberry Toby, Hugh Dawson, Justwick, Fresh Horses, Alex, Larry I Hate You, Griffin God, I miss that man, My Name Is Not Lily, Plump Helmet Punk. They're all inactive these days. Variac still creates content. It's even enjoyable at times. Funny what not playing Baldur's Gate 2 and Morrowind can do. I'm going to even be joining him in April for his annual charity livestream as he plays Daggerfall. I know, right? Daggerfall. I hope he's not too tired. SKS. He's still kicking around. He wasn't too great at the whole channel interface thing. It's no wonder they removed that stuff in early 2012. He's an honorous sort, but I'm glad to know him, and I'm glad he's still broadcasting and recording. More broadcasting than recording, but he is doing an NCAA football series that's heavily edited and all locally recorded. Effing Controller's also around. He went on a long reprieve, but he recently came back to game. That thing is, well, he's absurd. He's better at Myth 2 Soulblighter than I am, and you know what? I got this GIF right here. That'll summarize it all of who effing Controller is. Bask in that. Moving on, there's Revocane. I love this old interface of his. He's mostly inactive. He's been just a streamer for years now. I like him. Read aloud a terrible fanfic because of him. Ended up in a competition. Well, I wasn't in a competition. I was judging the competition of the Voltron Army, and he submitted an entry. Jeff and I were judging all the entries, and his was the best. Yeah, that son of a bitch. I spoke with him a few months back. He's hanging in there. I also met a few other content creators through the TeamSpeak server. Like Polar Dash. He's still at it. He multi-streams to YouTube and Twitch, and I watch him on the latter. He punishes himself with what he plays. It's almost endearing. Speaking of almost endearing, J Square John Jeremy. I haven't had a meaningful conversation with him for years. During, or rather after, like, one of his moves for his job. That's why our, like, whole, like, GM mode wrestling series got derailed. The man is business inclined with everything. In fact, during a period where he got laid off and sick, he quit his original channel, outed himself as John Gomez, the other JG, and created Gameplay Chat, which has since gone inactive-ish since his full-time work began again. He doesn't even have correct links in his video descriptions. I've checked them. The Mixer link dead ends. It's like, this account hasn't been created. The Twitter link goes somewhere completely different. What the fuck, John? Business inclined my ass. The point is this. I'm glad that community existed. I'm glad Jeff and Hexcrack fostered a foundation for everyone's effort, for people who made content and for people who consumed content. I certainly didn't mention everyone. Murda, Hildegane, Mr. British Gamer. It was mostly good times. There's even a playlist I created to serve as a catch-all for those moments, but it did stop being an exhaustive collection. So it goes. So what does all that have to do with Let's Get On With It? Well, all of that stopped this channel from being just about Liberal Crime Squad. I wanted to branch out into more games and share more stories with more people. This idea persisted, even with suboptimal hardware and software, even with inadequate skill and time. I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't bought my laptop with recording in mind. I used a microphone built into the laptop. I captured game audio from my laptop speakers and through the microphone. And I experimented with so many recording programs. All of it to try and find a way to compensate for my hardware. Through all that, I was working a full-time job, and I was coping. My father got hospitalized that May. My grandpa had died that March. My dad, he was found unconscious at work. He stayed mostly in a coma until November. He had been sickly for years before, but that incident just changed everything. I've discussed this at length in various updates, and I won't rehash it here, but I kept making bits of content through all that, interspersed with breaks. Case in point. Man, I miss this interface. Once my dad got out of the hospital, I started mowing through series. I also connected with more people. I went looking for Aerobiz Supersonic playthroughs, and I found Bobo the Vulture. Come along, Bobo. I really like him. We've joined for a few things. He's not done much content of late, but things might be looking up. Now his brother, the mysterious JG, fucking machine. No matter where this man is in the world, no matter what's going on in his life, he's always making content and inappropriate jokes. The man is eternal. I'm glad to know them both, though perhaps not as glad as Ald Dragon and Zerfall. Ald is like, I too love making buckets of content, often involving role-playing games. Come, JG, let us join hand in hand. When the world ends, the roaches won't be starved for content because those two will still be uploading videos. As for Zerfall, I don't know how exactly he fits into this power block, but I do know they're all thick as thieves. Zerfall enjoys shoveling Commodore 64 and Nintendo games down everyone's gullets when he's not too busy with his speedruns, and sometimes those overlap. I join him annually for a charity broadcast he does to fight multiple sclerosis. There I was, back on the topic of people again. I've never told the story of Let's Get On With It like this before. At the start of April 2011, literally April 1st, I announced I'd be shutting down Let's Get On With It after my Shadowrun series. Specifically, I'd be cutting my internet. Bills were rough. I was looking to cut costs. Couldn't justify more Let's Get On With It adventures. Turns out doing this on April Fool's Day was unfortuitous. Jeff rode roughshod over my announcement and made people think I was fucking with them. Not quite. Once the seriousness settled in, I had folks like Bobo make the argument to open up a PayPal link and allow viewers to contribute. This was my hobby, you understand. Never my profession. Never my intention for it to be so. I didn't want this to be a job. These weren't transactions. I was willing to go, put it into the story, the connections, but I acquiesced. And viewers? Well, I wrote it well enough in the May special. I don't even remember what program I used for this. But I couldn't say what I wanted. I needed a text-to-speech program. These connections of mine remained through the summer of 2011. I couldn't create content then, after falling down a staircase with my laptop. I reverted to my old college computer, but there was no way I could record anything. Screenshots? Those were possible, and I shared a few stories with the Civ Fanatics forum. Those stories were what led to, well, ideas. After I got back from Puerto Rico that July, I acquisitioned a family computer which wasn't seeing much use, did a few trial runs of test stuff, and then I was back. Let's Get On With It lived once more through Civilization 4, and then it continued through a hell of a lot more. My father got re-hospitalized in 2012, putting more stress on my time and energy. On the bright side, I got a gift. Tiny Shopkeeper, the patron saint of Let's Get On With It, sent me his mini Alienware laptop, otherwise gathering sand while he was overseas. The thing overheated like crazy, but it handled gaming much better. The summer of 2012 also marked the first Rewarding the Rewarders opportunity buried in an update video. It was primarily a way to surprise reward people who had already contributed to the channel, but I allowed folks for a limited time to also kick in some cash and request games. Rewarding the Rewarders breathed new and different energy to the channel. I wasn't just playing games I knew well or had a strong interest in. They were often blind playthroughs, or games I never intended to play again, and certainly not for Let's Get On With It. Games like Phantasy Star 4, Warlock Master of the Arcane, and Unreal Tournament with... There's not anyone I've named who I admire more than Lethal Feline. I'm so glad he and I are friends. I don't know how he tolerates me. I must have tricked him somehow. It's one of the smarter things I've ever done. You'd figure he would have gotten tired of my petulance and snark after all the adventures we've had together, or at the very least after the first time I visited him back in December 2016. But no, the fool invited me to come see him again last summer. He was nothing but gracious to me, even while I was freezing him at his own damn house. The man's biggest flaw is not telling me to go fuck myself years ago. Lethal still creates content, but it's almost entirely through live broadcasts. Some of his series will never even make it to YouTube, courtesy of overzealous copyright protection. The struggles of content creation. What else do we have here as I blitz through 2012? There's Inferno Canuck. Look at that background. He's marginally active these days. Used to just do Total War content, but then he branched down to other stuff, and look at that background. This is why we can't have nice things anymore. Because of SKS's background and Inferno's. What the fuck, guys? I still talk with him, now and then. Broadcasted not too long ago. He's playing through Fallout 2. I think he's well. We've got the Warhorse himself, Mal Casvia. Mal isn't satisfied playing games unless he's knocking his own dick in the dirt. These days, he still uploads, but it's in the form of video after-action reports. Heavy editing. It's how he likes to tell stories and connect with people. I'm glad he found something he enjoys. There's a few videos in the guest commentary playlist if you're interested in seeing him try to punch a cyber demon to death. Good times. Man, this is when the channel was so active. Right into and through 2013. You've got a shitty game called Oni, Adventures with Bobo, and JG, and SKS, and J2, a slew of series with Lethal Feline, role-playing adventures. Note that Thief Gold playlist. I got a new computer shortly after that series started. An actual gaming desktop. Onto that mostly through a new Rewarding the Rewarders opportunity. So many participants, so many entrants, I'm still not through that list. Fucks with my head, I never promised a timetable, but I sometimes feel like one of those Kickstarters that never delivered, went to bask in the Bahamas instead. Except I am delivering slowly, but there's been plenty of detours for non-requested content. Like the fucking impromptu chat democracy clan chucklefucks run of King of Dragon Pass. Boy, that took a lot of energy. I like viewer democracy live streams, but King of Dragon Pass democracy is a difficult beast to wrangle with, even with planning, as the second democracy run we did of King of Dragon Pass demonstrated. As an aside, I am familiar with 6 Ages, trust me. I don't intend to create content involving it, and the stories are for me. We've got the Birthday of Bacon 2013 playlist up there. I used to hold annual Q&As, ask question, receive bacon, bacon equals answer. For viewer-submitted questions, the 2013 one was the longest, because I was also playing Dungeon Defenders, so interspersing the interludes with gameplay. Imagine people wanting to know things about me, and me taking the time to talk about those things while also playing a game, and create an entire playlist of it. What a novel concept. And then we're in 2014. There's Expeditions Conquistador. That was a 1-hour request I fleshed out into a complete series. I really enjoyed that game. But 2014 is when the Let's Get On With It party bus really started to change. As in, it became a fucking party bus. There's less solo content from me. Instead, there's role-playing campaigns and co-op playthroughs and live streams. That summer was a difference maker. I switched from streaming on Twitch and on Twitch to Hitbox for the much reduced delay. And I tested settings by playing Left 4 Dead 2 with folks, and then that turned into Payday 2, and good lord was there Payday 2. There was so much Payday 2, I eventually stopped archiving it all. There was no need. I have a viewer every now and then, pop up and ask me for more Payday 2. One, in fact, popped up just last night on a King's Bounty video. And I know there's more fresh content out there to explore in that game. Starbreeze needed to become financially solvent somehow, so they went back to that moneymaker and started churning out more stuff for Payday 2. But I think this YouTube channel is good on that front. You can go elsewhere for that. But back then, nah, just dozens, if not hundreds of videos. It was hundreds of videos. People just learning the game and bumblefucking their way to greatness, and glorious death. Looking at my playlist more, I see I did find room for single-player adventures. You have, Arcanum, Arcanum. There, took me a year to complete. Hitman, maybe 6 months. Long Live the Queen was a blind playthrough I treated with serious fucking business. It was courtesy of Axion. I took notes, planned my moves. The game's deadly reputation had preceded it, and I was determined to win big. Pretty proud of that. There's the Stanley Parable. Actually been over 5 years at this point since I finished that series. I could boot it up and get the achievement. Whoop-de-doo. Let's Get All That started running out of steam in 2015. Arcanum and Hitman are lurking in the background, but my gaming time focused on live broadcasts and hanging out with friends. I stopped caring about fleshing out playlist descriptions, though YouTube's interface changes certainly didn't help with that either. And the games I played, well, they were all over the place, like Interstellar Marines. What a fucking train wreck. Lethal just set that money on fire. I know D-Day was way better. As for late 2015, there was a little bit of fun. Mother 3 and Ultima 7 didn't resonate with me to keep those romance? Rewarding the Rewarders series going, but there was plenty of free space, which I had hoped would hone my skills for kicking ass in free space too. But it never quite happened like that. None of my half-formed plans did. My father went terminal at the start of 2016. He received hospice care at home. I was a caregiver in his final months. There's knowing someone will die, and then there's watching someone die. slowly, agonizingly, and you're powerless to salvage the situation. All you can do is mitigate the circumstances, much like how the medicine mitigates the pain. But it never goes away. I lost my passion to build connections and tell stories. Things just fell apart. You know, I never fleshed out that Iron Gods playlist, not that it went too terribly far before the party wiped. Basically right as the series was going to take a hiatus anyway at the end of book 2. It's still sitting there with one video. The hell, Grimith. I also don't know how I feel about these individual Rogue State playlists with one video each, but if I make new ones, I try to edit anything, it's all going to be cycled to the top. And that's going to bother me too. I eased myself back into gaming over the summer and fall of 2016, but I didn't flip the switch, as it were, until after I visited Lethal at the start of December. The time with him reinvigorated with me. We did plenty of gaming, though I never ended up making playlists for those series over here. That's all just on his channel and not reflected here. Damn it, Grimith. When I came back from Colorado, I was ready to get on with it all over again. Play games, tell stories, interact with people, build connections. I was doing both local recordings and live streams over on a new streaming service, Beam. I really loved that chat delay, and I enjoyed people I met there too. Thought I could make a positive difference for the service. I poured passion into that. I poured passion into meeting new people and playing games with them. Poured passion into doing voice work. Poured passion into tutoring kids again. I made a live stream schedule. Spent 16, 18 hours a day talking in some form or fashion. It's the most I've ever tried for what I do here. And it lasted 2 months. I lost my voice. Damaged my throat. Partly from overuse. Partly because I got sick. Partly because of a severe allergic reaction to lozenges, which I didn't realize was making everything worse, until I woke up one day and my esophagus was inflamed. That was a pretty good panic moment for me. So, 2017 didn't feature much content afterward. There were certainly periods where my throat hurt and I only wanted to talk in a whisper. And while my voice has recovered by this point,
it's not quite the same anymore. I'm still a little skittish sometimes.
I can't really do all the kooky shit
that I used to do for the long periods of time.
It's kind of gone, and it sort of fades anyway. Especially if you don't like a muscle. Yeah, that's what it is. Vocal cords are like muscles. Way to go. I'm a doctor. You can trust me.
What the fuck, Grimith? Come on, man. You can't even take me seriously whenever I talk like all this. But yeah, used to be able to do this for more extended periods of time. Now, not so much.
But there were also emotional reasons for why there wasn't much content afterward. I was real upset that I'd found passion and motivation, but I couldn't pursue what I really wanted to do. I had wanted, let's get on with the adventures at that moment, not just for entertainment and escapism, but to elevate others, make an impact upon people's lives, and I physically couldn't. It fucking sucked. I was consumed by pity, not great, then by hatred, lateral move, then by bitterness. I'd like to say I shook that, but I didn't. I started having other medical problems, the consequences of negligence. In 2010, I didn't think I'd live to 2011. In 2011, I didn't think I'd live to 2012. That cycle perpetuated. Be every year. What the fuck? How am I still alive? Incomprehensible. I wasn't actively killing myself. No, I had long ago made my choice not to do that. But I was still doing so. Not actively, but passively, through negligence. I had stopped investing in me. And, well, it turns out I lived long enough to start having problems, which all just fed into a death spiral of me continuing not to invest in me because me continuing to not think I'm going to live for much longer. In 2018, all I wanted to do was escape. I zoned out. I'd go on walks. I'd not remember leaving my house. I left my own head. I didn't want to invest in this life, any life. It'd be hours would pass. Like, I'm here? What the fuck happened? In 2019, I had severe weight fluctuation. I'm a gourmand. I love food, but I stopped wanting to eat. I had sought treatment, which was a mixed bag, and I was on medications, which were also mixed bags. Or bottles, as it were. I had saved up money to move from this place of memories to a more urban environment. That money was instead put towards medical expenses, and I became increasingly lethargic, resigned, apathetic. Trust me, person who says trust me, are you more compelled to trust them? I haven't quite been the pinnacle of motivation in my life, ever since my days of appeasing authority passed. But it all just poof. You can see and hear it in the content I made during this time. These playlists at the bottom are from 2017, and they carry on through into 2019. I found less joy in video games. I became less able to carry a conversation while playing video games. I was losing memory and focus, and my faith in spheres I had known to be my strengths for a very long time. The stories stopped mattering to me. I didn't feel very good at telling them anymore. So what mattered even more to me, and what I clung to, were the connections. I've always been good at being alone, but I stopped wanting to go. I hear that at the end of my videos these days. A reluctance to move on. And I'd finally mustered up the energy to do something about it. Back in December, in the update after my emergency room visit, which, by the way, side story about that, a bit of an education for the unaware, but in the United States, when you have a hospital visit, you have multiple bills. Like one from the hospital, one for the practitioner, like your physician or surgeon, one for radiology, one for the anesthetic, and so forth. So when you have a hospital visit, you should be on the lookout for multiple envelopes with multiple statements. Now, you could end up in a situation where, say, hypothetically, wouldn't know anyone this has ever applied to, you're having an emergency and you need treatment, so you go to a hospital to get that, and you're familiar with this hospital because you've been to this hospital before, and you know that it's part of your health plan. The hospital accepts your health insurance, but something else there you get isn't in your health plan. So when you get those various statements weeks after the fact, you end up blindsided because something you thought was covered wasn't actually covered, so there's an extra thousands of dollars you get to pay, and you add that to the rest of your bills, and you end up in more debt than you were after college. Side story got. Back in December, in that month's update video, I explicitly noted my waning interest in Let's Get All That, and said I'd give myself one more season to find joy in all this, or that'd be it. Well, at the start of this month, I thought that'd be it. I intended to take care of final affairs, box up this computer, and leave this house full of memories. Move on with my life, or at least try. I'd attempt to shock myself out of my lethargy and apathy, because I'm not terminally ill, and I'm not suicidal, but I'm killing myself through negligence. It's my deep-seated self-hatred's passive-aggressive way of making me suffer, because I feel like I deserve it for reasons which I don't... We've also gotten to those before over our dates. Woo! I even timed my medications to expire this month, and let me tell you, it has not been great. Would not recommend doing so. But in my case, yeah, I would recommend doing so. My body is stressing out, but my mind is sharper than it has been in years. I don't know whether this would have failed spectacularly, whether I would have come crawling back to the computer and these stories and escapism, whether I would have crashed and burned, but if I could just make myself feel, I thought, if I could just engage myself with this life again, make me want to take action, then I thought that would be worth trying, as opposed to lethargy. Then I had a hunch that turned into an educated guess, which became a reality, that external circumstances would force a reassessment of my plans. Unfathomable households are suffering from the pandemic. Count mine among them. I had tutoring income once. It was great. I was depending on that to pay my bills. Not anymore, and not again anytime soon. I had a guest move out this month who was paying rent in both cash and food stamps. That's gone. My income currently and entirely exists of the thing I was going to leave. This thing. And even if I were still to go, there's now nowhere for me to go. And I do care about being a responsible global citizen. So yeah, let's get on with it. I've had viewers dream over the years of what it would be like if I had all the time in the world to do Let's Get On With It adventures. Well, as it turns out, and wouldn't you know, my schedule is clear. Crystal. Now, what will come of that? I don't know. Because my availability doesn't equate to content. I have to care about building connections and telling stories. That's how this all works. That's what I do. That's what I want and what I watch. That's what I want and what I create. I don't do this to make money. Minimal editing. Imperfections. Person or persons kicking back and enjoying themselves in the company of others. If I can get back there, we're in business. Maybe. Potentially. Possibly. Probably. Again, I have no fucking clue. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm feeling. And I'm wanting to do something, and I care. And those were the emotions I was hoping to drag out of me by leaving this all behind. So maybe I might fucking pull this all together, and do something besides screaming at the news every day. That's your decade in review, along with a channel update too, and a bit of, current commentary. Two more things before we go. First, Patreon supporters. I will keep this open begrudgingly. I had intended to shut it down, along with everything else. I was going to box this shit up. But I am changing the tiers. Specifically, I am removing the $25 tier. Update video insults, which are actually shoutouts, will be provided at the $10 tier. No more kitschy postcards. Why? My postcards are non-essential mail, and there has been a request to avoid non-essential mail. Even if there were not, I don't want a mail carrier to spend the extra seconds grabbing them from a mailbox. Besides, it's a bit harder to get postage now. There's this thing happening. You may have heard. Now, maybe I'll come up with some other way to bilk money out of you all, and it'll be incredibly crafty, and we'll all celebrate the glory and wisdom of corporate Grimith. Until then, please enjoy this lengthier list of insults, which are actually shoutouts. Applejack, thank you. Zachary McKinley, thank you. Longshot137, thank you. Change your fucking name. Utero, thank you. Cast Iron Dude, thank you. Nick King, thank you. Necrolotu, thank you. Probably can't take advantage of your offer anymore. Kalen, thank you. Perpentock, thank you. Saint Tiny Shopkeeper, thank you. Proxybane, thank you. Mog, thank you. Martin Amantorp, thank you. Dumb Snark, thank you. Augusto de Oliveira, thank you. And though this was denied, according to my ledger, Zier, thank you. Finally, I wanted to mention two more people who I've enjoyed having in my life. And even if the whole streaming on Beam, which became Mixer thing, shindig, booba, didn't quite work out, my time there was worthwhile, because I met them. There's Otaku Shout, also known as Dan Taku, also known as Danny, who has transitioned from broadcasting on Mixer to Twitch in recent times, picked up gainful employment in recent times, though that's been suspended of late. I've thoroughly enjoyed our Tuesday mornings together. They've provided comfort and grounding. He's not a part of the super best friends, but he is a good friend. Even if he still lives in doubt, because he's afraid of upsetting or disappointing me. Dan, if I thought you weren't worth my time, then I wouldn't have spent hundreds of hours of it with you. The other person is Queen of Art. The single mother artiste who has less free time than ever before under a colossus of medical and financial worries, but she has finally begun to stream again and share her art with others. Queenie's been great for me, and if she had a touch more availability, there'd be an entire section of this channel devoted to our dumb things. There's more people who need relationship help out there, damn it, and she still owes me a Daggerfall session after the bet she lost. Mark my words, I will try to collect. Now we're done here. It's been a pleasure. Maybe I'll see you around. Maybe you'll get fucked. Maybe, for once in this channel's storied fucking history, even after an entire decade, I'm gonna shut up and get on with it. Effective results have still yet to be seen.